I graduated ahead of our class. I don't mean grade-wise. Our class had a bunch of very bright students. Tau Beta honorary, and so I graduated in December instead of March or June.
This is 42. This is 1942.
42.
Right.
And I was offered a fellowship at MIT by Dr. Chipman, thanks to my professor at Ohio State, Scotsman. We call him Dr. McCoy, but it's McCaughey. And I met Dr. Chipman in some meeting that the professor arranged for me, and so I was surprised to find out he was at the University of Chicago, and he was consulting for 2 days a week, and finally General Grove told Dr. Chipman, said, "Look, Dr. Chipman, instead of going 2 days a week to the University of Chicago," he said, "why don't you move full-time to the University of Chicago and build yourself a metallurgy group as large as you find you need, because every time the physicists come up with an idea, it turns out to be a materials problem."
By the way, this was General Groves who headed up the Manhattan Project.
He headed up the whole Manhattan Project.
The whole project. And so Andy is now stumbling into this. We'll now hear how he unknowingly became part of this Manhattan Project. It's a very nice transition.
I had no idea there was a Manhattan Project. And Dr. Chipman, the only thing he gave me, he said that we discussed whether I would be drafted. He said, while he was still at MIT, he said, "Why don't you just come and I'll put you on a classified defense program." Mm-hmm. And that's all I knew. But in the meantime, General Grove told him, "We need you to build a staff at Chicago." And I thought I was making a decision. I thought go to accept a job at Carnegie Illinois Steel, and I thought I was making this decision, but I didn't know. I found out that Dr. McCoy and Dr. Chipman and this Dr. Ray Bowden, who was high up in the Carnegie Illinois Steel in the downtown office. So that's where I ended up going, and I knew I was being treated different because there was an MIT graduate engineer that was full-time, and here I would spend 2-3 weeks in one department. They would transfer me to another department.
So they were checking you out. They were checking you out.
Oh, I was getting it. And on when I was working on the day turn, or the night turn rather, so I was off during the day, I had to report to the Ray Bowden at Carnegie Steel office in downtown Chicago, and he would question me what I learned and all that, and popping questions at me. And he would then tell me, I want you to go over and introduce yourself to a superintendent of a different department before I'm even going over there. And that's the way I went through. Then I got a message when I was off on during the day to go see Dr. Chipman at the University of Chicago. And
where was his metallurgical lab located?
In Chicago.
Yeah, it wasn't at an important place in the Manhattan Project.
No, when the Manhattan Project decided University of Chicago was going to be one of their key research development for all the project. Mm-hmm. And they took over a whole building from the University of Chicago for the Manhattan Project.
Wasn't it at Stagg Field?
Well, that's where they built the first reactor.
It's the same time period, in 42, and you're
correct.
now talking in 43, so obviously
right.
The same area.
And so I went and talked to Dr. Chipman, and they said, Andy, he called me Andrew always, I want you to come work for me here at the University of Chicago. So what could I say, you know? And after about 3 more weeks, and the foreman comes up to me on a Friday. He said, Andy, this is your last paycheck with Carnegie Illinois Steel. You report Monday.
And this was after only about 3 months.
3 months. Like the first job out of high school, the owner of the company really try to talk me to stay with him. Mm-hmm. And he would train me in a lot of the work. And but I did the right thing going back to Ohio State.
Of course.
And then I managed to work in the coal mine for the next 2 summers. Mm-hmm. To keep going to school. And superintendent, they were proud of me going to school because not very many out of 128 graduates mm-hmm. in our senior class, less than 10 students ever saw college. And so one thing left to another. While I was going to school, I'll tell you another little side detour. I was still a freshman in this honorary dorm, cooperative dorm. And I get a note that the dean of the college wanted to talk to me. And there I am, still a freshman, and I was wondering, what could I have done? And I was behaving, believe me.
You're doing your best.
And